Over the past decade, the Pittsburgh Penguins have been one of the most consistent teams in the NHL, making it to the playoffs every single year except for last season. So today, I'm going to be playing through every single NHL game from NHL 14 to 24. I'm going to rebuild the Pittsburgh Penguins in every single game, and we're going to try to win this team a handful of Stanley Cups. So with that being said, of course, we're starting in NHL 14 here, where the Pittsburgh Penguins, they're a pretty solid team. Just looking at the core here, of course, you got Crosby, Malkin, James Neal, Chris Kunitz. That's just the forward core right here. Defensively, that's going to be looking fantastic. Of course, you got Martin Letang or Niskanen. That's your top four here. Well, the third pairing, we're probably going to be addressing that. But the one thing we're not going to worry about for a majority of this video, that's going to be the goaltending, because Marc-Andre Fleury, he's going to be our guy. Well, up until he gets claimed by Vegas, of course, then we're going to be running with Matt Murray and Tristan Jarry. But we'll worry about that a bit later. Right now, we got to rebuild this Penguins team. Before I start making any moves though, I want to give a massive shout out to MasterBucks for the inspiration for this video. I've seen him do it a couple times with FIFA, so I thought I'd do it with NHL today. And when it comes to the rebuild, there's only one rule, and that's I'm only allowed to make 3 trades per game. And just looking at this team right here, there's one trade I'm going to be making immediately, and that's Bo Bennett. He's only an 80 overall, but he's got pretty high trade value. And I'm pretty sure I can bring in an older player in their 30s who's an 85 overall, and that's definitely going to be helping the Pittsburgh Penguins. So with that being said, let's get into some trades here. So our first trade might be coming with the Calgary Flames, where we would pick up an 84 overall Glenn Cross. We would also pick up Lee Stepniak, and he's an 80 overall as well, an 82 to be exact. That would provide a bit more forward depth for this team. So we're going to send Bo Bennett over there, and Calgary's accepting that immediately. It looks like we got finesse, but hey, forward core just got a massive upgrade. And I think our second trade is going to be from Mark Method from the Ottawa Senators. He'll provide a bit more defensive depth for us. He's an 83 overall. That would be a nice upgrade to the team. Apparently Ottawa's going to be cheering in the streets after completing this deal. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but I think that's a good move for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And for our final move, I think we're going to be picking up another centerman from the Detroit Red Wings to provide a bit more depth for us, and that's going to be Bunner, and we're giving them 3 AHL players that I don't want. I don't know why Detroit's accepting this deal. I didn't even think they would accept it. But hey, it's an upgrade for the Penguins, so I'm not going to complain. So here's what the Pittsburgh Penguins are looking like right now. The forward core definitely got a nice upgrade. We could use a bit more help on the fourth line here, but hey, we got some 80 overalls on the third, so I'm not going to complain. Defensively, we're looking even better here with the addition of Mark Method to the third pairing. I'm definitely not going to complain having an 83 overall Mark Method on the third pairing, that's for sure. Meanwhile, the goaltending tandem, that's not seeing any changes whatsoever. Marc-Andre Fleury, help us get a Stanley Cup. I'm relying on you. Also, while we go ahead and simulate through season number 1 here, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm yet to pass the Detroit Red Wings in YouTube subscribers, but you can change that right now if you subscribe. No, I'm not going to lie, I was expecting a bit more from our Pittsburgh Penguins team because they did not look that great this season. We are making the playoffs, but we're definitely not a competitive team. 15th in the entire league, 40, 32, and 10. And we're incredibly lucky because the only reason we're making the postseason, we held the tiebreaker over Florida. That's the only reason. Without that tiebreaker, we're not making it in. Crosby's going to be leading the way for us with 84 points. He's got 35 goals, 49 assists. I'm going to keep it a stack, Crosby. I'm expecting a bit more from you. Malkin's got 71. James Neal, 66. I'm not going to complain about these numbers. Chris Letang, 57 points. We just need to score more. Plain and simple. Because Marc-Andre Fleury held it down the back end, 31 wins here, 259 goals against, and the save percentage, a 915. I really can't complain about that. But let's not worry about what happened in the regular season because we're in the playoffs now and we have a tough matchup in the first round. We got the Carolina Hurricanes. So far, Carolina is not playing around this series. They got themselves a 3-1 series lead and they're looking to close it out here in game 5, but that's not going to be happening. We're taking that one 3-2 and now we're off to game 6. Can we complete the 3-1 series comeback? It's a possibility because we're off to game 7. So here we go, game 7. Can the Pittsburgh Penguins complete the 3-1 series comeback? So far, the Carolina Hurricanes are rolling. They're taking a 2-1 lead in the first period, and in the second we're going to see no scoring here, so it's going to stay a 2-1 game. And with the third period wrapping up here, apparently all the goals are going to be coming in the first period, and Carolina's 2 goals is going to be enough as they're taking us down. When the postseason came to an end here, it looks like the Chicago Blackhawks are going to be going on another Stanley Cup run as they're going to be taking this one in a 6-game series. Although we're not picking up the main trophy in the Stanley Cup, we did have one award winner, and that's coming with the Norris, as the winner is going to be Chris Letang. Outside of Chris Letang though, we're not going to see anyone else on the Pittsburgh Penguins Penguins taking home any awards, so let's get right into next season and hopefully bounce back from this disappointing loss. So we've officially moved on to the PS4 and we're also on NHL 15. Sidney Crosby, of course, he's the highest overall in the Pittsburgh Penguins at 96 overall, but obviously outside of Sidney Crosby, this team still got a lot of fantastic pieces. You got Malkin here, you got Patrick Hornquist, Chris Kunitz, and there's just a lot of amazing depth on this team. The lowest overall in the forward core is a 77, so we don't need to make too many changes here. Defensively, this is a pretty good Pittsburgh Penguins team. Curtis Enroth, Chris Letang, Oli Mata, Paul Martin, that's pretty good. The third pairing might need a bit of work, but other than that, it's pretty solid. And of course, as I mentioned in the last video, we already know who we're going to be rocking in between the pipes. That's going to be Marc-Andre Fleury at an 88 overall. So obviously, this Pittsburgh Penguins team won the best in the entire league at the time, so this team really doesn't need too many changes to it. But I'm allowed to make 3 trades, so I might as well make 3 improvements while I'm here. So this is the plan. Derek Pouliot, currently he's a really young player, so he has a ton of trade value. I'm going to package him up along with one of our defensemen who's getting paid $3.3 million. Both of them are going to go over to the New Jersey Devils. We're picking up Havlat here. He's an 84 overall. We're also going to be picking up Andy Green at $3 million for 1 year. He'll be a great piece to the defense. And while we're at it, we're also going to try to get a 4th round pick. They're going to say no here. I'll take that 4th round route, and if we have to throw some draft compensation into the deal, I definitely will. So it looks like we are going to have to throw some draft picks into this deal, so we'll start with a 3rd rounder, and that should be enough, but they're going to be saying no to that, so we might need to add a bit more. So you know what? I don't want to waste a bunch of time here. I'm taking the 3rd round route, putting a 2nd in instead, and they're going to give me a 4th rounder back in return. They're actually going to say no to that, so I'll take the 4th round route, and we'll get this deal done just like that. So we're going to try to make a Hail Mary deal right here. Bo Bennett, Despres, a 1st round pick, and Dupuis are going to be sent over to the Nashville Predators. We're going to try to bring in Craig Smith, Roman Josi, Cody Sissons, and a 2nd round pick. Unfortunately, Nashville's going to be saying no to this deal right here, so we'll take out the 2nd rounder, and then we'll get this deal done. And we just added 2 major pieces to the team, along with 1 young player. And that young piece in Cody Sissons that we just picked up from the Nashville Predators, I'm going to flip him over to the Boston Bruins, and we're going to be bringing in Riley Smith to play a depth role here. So here's the new look Pittsburgh Penguins. Sidney Crosby, Patrick Hornquist, and Riley Smith on the 1st line. Then you have Havlat, Malkin, and Kunitz on the 2nd, and then the bottom 6 here, absolutely incredible. The lowest overall being an 82. We can definitely work with that. Defensively, you're not able to name a defense better than this one. Enroth, Letang, Martin, Josi, Mata, Green. No team's going to be able to stop this defense. And what goaltender is going to be behind that defense? 88 overall Marc-Andre Fleury, and then backing him up, 84 overall Thomas Greiss. I think we're looking at a 60-win team right here. Well, it's good to see the Pittsburgh Penguins having some success after the trades I made for them, because they're going to be finishing 1st in the entire league here, 52, 19, 11. This is one of the most dominant teams in the NHL. And you know who else was dominant for this Pittsburgh Penguins team? No surprise here, Sidney Crosby. 107 points, 42 goals, 65 helpers. Malkin's picking up 81, and Patrick Hornquist, 40 goals, 40 helpers. No, that's an elite season from this man right here. And you know who else was looking elite this season? Of course, it's going to be Marc-Andre Fleury. 36 wins with a 220 and a 922. Definitely Stanley Cup numbers. But whether or not Marc-Andre Fleury put up Stanley Cup numbers during the regular season doesn't mean anything right now, because now we need him to put these numbers up in the postseason. And we have the Tampa Bay Lightning in the 1st round. And right now, it's been some light work for the Pittsburgh Penguins as they currently have a 3-1 series lead, and they're looking to close it out in Game 5 here. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen because we're getting absolutely smoked 6-0. We can't go to Game 7. We can't let that happen. All right, we're off to Game 7. That's great. Okay, I just want to point one thing out before we go into Game 7. Tampa won 37 games this season. They were awful. We won 15 more than them. I guess I simulated the game. Didn't mean to do that. Did we win or did we lose? I thought I was jumping into the game. Okay, we won. That's a W then. So it doesn't really matter what just happened in the 1st round because we're moving on here. We're in the 2nd, and now we have the New York Islanders, a team that just took down the New York Rangers in a 7-game series. And it looks like the New York Islanders are just going to be no match for the Pittsburgh Penguins, as we're going to wrap this series up real quick as we're taking them down to sweep. So here we are in the conference finals. It's going to be a tough one for us. We have the Detroit Red Wings to take on, but the next matchup is going to be even tougher after this one because we're either taking on the Chicago Blackhawks or the LA Kings. 2 of these teams were elite during this time period, so no matter what, Pittsburgh's going to have their hands full. So right now, things are not looking good for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Currently, we're down 3-1 this series, so we got to lock it in Game 5 to stay alive in this series. Never mind, we're going to get shut out. We had a dominant performance in Game 1, took that one 5-1, and then everything fell apart after that, losing 4 straight, and it doesn't look like we're going to be hoisting our first Stanley Cup this season. And after we were eliminated, the Detroit Red Wings would go on to face the LA Kings in the Stanley Cup final, but LA's making quick work of them, taking them down to 5-game series. I also do want to point out the LA Kings did just go 16-3 in the playoffs, so no one was even able to compete with that team. And it's not like I can really complain with the production we had in the postseason. Crosby 16 points, Kunitz 16, Malkin 15. What were the goaltending numbers looking like? Was Marc-Andre Fleury holding it down the back end? I was assuming he was. He had some pretty good numbers here, a 224 and a 922. I think we just got to score a few more goals. So we're all wrapped up here with NHL 15, and let's move on to NHL 16. Moving on to NHL 16, I think it's safe to say the team's looking even better. Crosby, Malkin, Kunitz, Hornquist, all these guys are still here. We have David Perron, who's an 85, but also we have the man, the myth, the legend, Phil the Thrill Kessel coming in at an 89 overall. He's going to be a massive difference maker for this team. The defense, of course, still has two of their top pieces. That's going to be Olli Maatta and Chris Letang. The next two pairings, though, we're going to be upgrading these. And of course, in between the pipes, you already knew this man was going to be here. 89 overall Marc-Andre Fleury. What's going to make this rebuild a lot tougher, the Pittsburgh Penguins have literally no cap space here. We have less than $1 million to work with, so we got to figure out a way not only to bring in some better players, but also to free up some money. So with that being said, let's get some deals done. So I think this could potentially be our first trade here. Daniel Sprong along with one of our defensemen over to the Winnipeg Jets for Jacob Trouba and Mark Scheifele. Both of these guys are still on their rookie deals, so we're only going to be paying them $900K. We're going to be saving a lot of money in this deal, and we're getting two massive upgrades. So I'm going to send this over. I'm not overly surprised they're saying no here, but we got some draft picks to work with, and I'm going to use them. So we'll start off with the 2016 second rounder to see if that's going to be enough, and right now they're still saying no. But maybe 2 second rounders will be the answer in this deal, and it looks like it will be. Mark Scheifele and Jacob Trouba, welcome to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now this next trade right here, if we could get this to work, I'll be incredibly surprised, but we got to try it. Dupuis, a first round pick, and Ian Cole over to the Boston Bruins. We're going to be picking up 88 overall Zdeno Chara, and for some reason Boston doesn't want him at this point, and we're also going to be picking up 85 overall Brad Marchand. They're saying no off the bat, but we're also pretty close in value, so I think we'll be able to get a deal done. So we're going to do what we have to get this deal done, so I'm going to throw a second rounder in it, offer that over to the Boston Bruins. But the real reason they're not accepting this deal, they don't want Dupuis' contract. That definitely makes this deal a lot more difficult, but I do think there's a way we can work around this. So if we can't get rid of Dupuis' contract, how about we do this instead? An elite potential prospect and a third round pick for Seth Jones. Is that enough to get the deal done? They're saying no. I'll throw in another third round pick and we'll get this deal done. This should be more than enough for Seth Jones. Okay, they're saying no, but we just have to sweeten the touch a little bit. So I'll throw a fourth rounder in it and we'll call it a day. There we go. We got Seth Jones on the team. A massive upgrade for the Penguins. So this is what our final deal is going to be looking like. We're going to be picking up Brock Nelson from the New York Islanders in 84 overall. And we're also going to be picking up Travis Hamonic in 85 overall. Two massive upgrades to the defense. So we're really not giving up too much. We're giving up Derek Pouliot, who has medium elite potential, and he's only an 81. Ben Lovejoy, an 81 overall defenseman. And we're also going to be giving up Matt Cullen, who's an 82 overall. Personally, I can live with this deal right here. So I'm sending that over to the Islanders. They're going to be saying no. But you already know we got draft picks to work with. And since it's our final deal, let's throw in the first rounder and just get this deal done real quick. Are we getting finessed here? Absolutely. But hey, we got our deal done. And now let's take a look at our team. So here's what the new look Pittsburgh Penguins are looking like. The top 6 is looking almost identical, but we do have Brock Nelson here now. And then the bottom 6, that's receiving a massive upgrade as we have Mark Scheifele here. The defense is going to be seeing the biggest upgrade as we brought in 3 elite defensemen, 86 overall Seth Jones, 86 overall Jacob Trouba, and then 85 overall Travis Hamonic. That's going to be massive for our defense. And on top of that, we still got 89 overall Marc-Andre Fleury in between the pipes, and we already know what he can do. So I'm not going to lie, I'm actually a little disappointed that we finished 3rd in the entire league here, 49, 23, and 10. But there is one thing I probably should mention. We started the season 2-9. To begin the season, we were 2-9 and still turned it around to finish 3rd in the entire league, only 2 points back of the Dallas Stars. So barring that start, we're number 1 in the entire league. We're here to compete. Okay, what is this? Sidney Crosby 68 points, Kessel 59 points, Hornquist 57, Malkin 53. Explain yourselves, because what is this? What am I looking at right here? 68 points and leading the team. What was the league leader at? I actually have to know this now. Crosby had 68 points. The league leader, Jamie Benn, had 100. And then Tyler Seguin had 97. Kane had 88. Tarasenko had 87. What happened to my Pittsburgh Penguins and why couldn't they score? Who cares that we couldn't score? We're in the postseason. We're 3rd in the entire league. And we have the New York Rangers to take on in the first round. I think the Pittsburgh Penguins are frauds. We're down 3-1 in the series. We're going to win game 5 here. So game 6 is a must win for us. We can't lose that one. We're off to game 7, potentially making a 3-1 series comeback. we shouldn't even have been in this position to start with. So here we go. We're jumping into game 7 here. We got to win this one. I'm just going to simulate the entire game. No point wasting any time. We're picking up a 5-0 shutout and we're off to the second round. So that series was way too close for comfort, but I think that was the adversity that we had to go through. So the New York Islanders, they shouldn't even be able to put up a fight against us. We're locked in now. We've won 3 straight games. We're looking to hoist the Stanley Cup. So after taking the first 2 games of the series, things were looking fantastic, but then we're dropping the next 2. So game 5 is going to be a massive one. Whoever takes this one's going to have the lead in the series, and it looks like it's going to be the Pittsburgh Penguins. Can we close this out in game 6? Because ideally I don't want to go to game 7 here, but I guess that's exactly where we're headed. Game 7 once again. So here we go. Another game 7. Can the Pittsburgh Penguins come out on top again? It doesn't look like it, because in the final seconds of this one, the Islanders are going to be able to hold off, and they're going to be taking us down to 7-game series. When the Penguins needed to step up, this team just completely folded. And of course, to finish off the postseason, the most realistic matchup of all time, and the one we all expected, the Montreal Canadiens taking on the Calgary Flames, all Canadian matchup, but this one's going to have the Montreal Canadiens coming out on top in 5 games. So y'all could score in the postseason. Malkin's a point a game, Crosby's 1 point behind a point a game, Perron's only 2 points back of a point a game. But what happened in the regular season with you guys? Because none of y'all could score. Also, why is Mark Scheifele in the AHL right now? You know what? We're not going to worry about that. Time to move on to NHL 17. So moving on to NHL 17, of course, the Pittsburgh Penguins are still going to have a solid core here. You got Patrick Hornquist, 87 overall, Sidney Crosby, 95, Phil the Thrill Kessel, 89 overall, and then the second line, you got some fan favorites, Chris Kunitz, Malkin, Carl Hagelin. We got to win a Stanley Cup. Past 2 games, we've been screwed. We have built Stanley Cup teams. We've built the best team in the NHL. But yet, when push comes to shove, we can't show up when it matters most. That changes now. Defensively, we're already looking better than we did in the last game. Oli Madden, 86 overall, Chris Letang, 90, and then we got Trevor Daley and Dumoulin here, both 85s. We can work with that. We'll make a couple additions to the third pairing here, but other than that, I think we're in a good spot. On top of that, we got ourselves 2 elite goaltenders in between the pipes. We have 88 overall Marc-Andre Fleury. He's going to be our guy, but we also have an 86 overall Matt Murray backing him up. We already know what this man can do, so let's see if they can close it out and actually win a Stanley Cup this time around. Luckily, with NHL 17, though, we actually have a bit of cap space to work with. We have 1.5 million, and 1.5 is more than enough for me. We also have a handful of guys that have a ton of trade value. Derek Pouliot, he's still got a ton. Daniel Sprong, he's got a fair amount. So there's definitely a handful of moves that we can make. So this is the first trade I'm looking at that has a 0% chance of actually happening. Derek Pouliot over to the Chicago Blackhawks. We would pick up Artemi Panarin. And although the deal we're currently sending over has more trade value than what we're receiving, Dupuis in this deal. This man's a 70 overall that's getting paid $3.4 million. I want to try to ditch this contract. So I'll give you a 2017 second round pick just to take on Dupuis' contract. Can we get this to work here? They're going to be saying no. So I think no matter what happens, we're going to have to hold on to Dupuis' contract. That's also not the end of the world, because I think we can go 1-for-1 here and bring Artemi Panarin onto the team. That's exactly what's happening. Chicago thinks they're getting a steal of a deal, but we just got 87 overall Panarin. So for our second deal, this is what I'm looking at right here. A first rounder, Ian Cole, and a second rounder over to the Philadelphia Flyers. We would pick up a young Shane Gostisbehere, who's an 86 overall. We'll also pick up Sean Lawton. He'll help the bottom 6 here, an 82 overall. Let's see if this deal is going to be enough. They're going to be saying no, but of course we have draft picks to work with, so I'll throw a third rounder in the deal. Hopefully that's enough, and it's going to be enough. So we just got this deal done. That's our first 2 moves. Now let's move on to our third. And for our final move, I think it only makes sense to help out our forward core a bit more. So we're going to bring in Hansel, who's an 85 overall. He'll definitely be a help on the bottom 6. We're also going to bring in Max Domi, another 85 overall player. I think this is going to be a good deal for us. Unfortunately, they're going to be saying no right off the bat. We already know we got draft picks to work with. On top of having draft picks to work with, we also have prospects like Daniel Sprong, and that's what I'm going to be using in this deal, and we're getting it done. In a lot of these deals, I'm technically getting finessed, but you know what? Who cares if I'm getting finessed if I'm getting all the players I want? And it doesn't really matter if you get finessed if you win a Stanley Cup, and that's what our plan is. Then again, that logic hasn't worked in the past 2 games, so why would it work now? So here's our new look Pittsburgh Penguins. On the first line, we're going to have Crosby, Artemi Panarin, and Phil the Thrill Kessel. On the second line, we've got Patrick Hornquist, Malkin, and Domi. On the third line, Carl Hagelin, Hansel, and Chris Kunitz. And on the fourth line here, I'm not going to complain with this type of talent. Defensively, we're going to be seeing a massive upgrade with Shane Gostisbehere. He's now going to be playing on the first line alongside Chris Kunitz, while the rest of the defense is looking pretty solid. And then to finish it all off, of course, we're keeping the goaltending tandem the same. That's going to see Marc-Andre Fleury and Matt Murray sharing the net together. Now, honestly, it's just very unfortunate what happened here, but we really shouldn't be surprised. The Pittsburgh Penguins second in the entire league, 49, 27, and 6. only behind the St. Louis Blues. Now we have to remember that the St. Louis Blues at this time, an absolute dominant force, easily one of the best teams in the entire league. So are we surprised that they finished first in the standings? Absolutely not. Now it's good to see that a lot of the star players on this team are having better years. Crosby's picking up 80 points, 35 goals, 45 helpers. Panarin's got 73. Phil the Thrill's got 72, while Evgeny Malkin, he's picking up 61. And I guess it wouldn't hurt if we looked at goaltending numbers this time around. Marc-Andre Fleury's going to be leading the way here. He's got 32 wins, a .242, and the save percentage, it's not looking too bad here, .919. However, Matt Murray's numbers, you can make the argument that they were better across the board. I mean, technically they were 17 wins, a .209, then a .926. If we started Matt Murray in the postseason, I wouldn't necessarily be against it, but of course, we gotta rock with Marc-Andre Fleury. He's proven to be the #1 guy here. I say that acting like he's gonna be on the team in the next game. Nah, he's off to Vegas. This is our last chance with Fleury. And since it's our last chance with Fleury, we might as well go out with a bang here and win ourselves the Stanley Cup. So let's take out the New York Rangers in the first round once again. So right now, the first round's been an absolute breeze for us. We have a 3-1 series lead, and we're going to close out in game 5 here and get ready for the second round. So it's finally happened. We got the biggest rivalry matchup of all time. And of course, I'm talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the Washington Capitals. Two fantastic teams matching up here. It's always a historic matchup. And although the Pittsburgh Penguins were the heavy favorites heading into this matchup, and on top of that, we did win game 1. We're down 3-1 in the series. It's been a massive collapse here and things aren't looking good, so we gotta simulate game 5. Hopefully we can make the comeback. Never mind, we're losing 4 straight games and we're out in the second round. I'm getting tired of the constant disappointment. This really shouldn't be happening this frequently. Alright, a statement is being made here. From here on out, we're winning Stanley Cups. In NHL 18, I am guaranteeing a Stanley Cup for the Pittsburgh Penguins. In NHL 19, I am guaranteeing a Stanley Cup for the Pittsburgh Penguins. In NHL 20, we will lose in the first round. We're not going to win a Stanley Cup every year, I'm just going to be honest. And then NHL 21, we're also going to lose in the first round. Because why would we ever succeed? And then in NHL 21, we will bounce back, lose in the conference finals, but then we'll win 2 Stanley Cups after that. That's the plan. Also, everyone here sucked. Like Sidney Crosby, you had 3 points in 10 games. You're a fraud. So the first thing you might notice in NHL 18 here is a lot of the overalls are much lower. I think there was a massive nerf in NHL 18 and a lot of overalls went down. But you know what? That's okay. We're going to be able to work around that. Defensively, the top 2 guys here can be Justin Schultz at an 83 overall, while Chris Letang's going to be an 88. Definitely not what the defenses looked like in the past here, but you know what? We'll be able to improve it. But the goaltending is where we're going to see the biggest changes. We're going to have 88 overall Matt Murray as our starting goaltender, while backing him up, that's going to be 75 overall Tristan Jarry. So for the first time in many years, we're going to have a new starting goaltender not named Marc-Andre Fleury, but you know what? I don't think that's going to be holding us back too much. So the first thing we got to do here is improve the forward depth as well as the defense, and Sebastian Aho and Jacob Slavin, they would be 2 nice pieces. Aho, he's an 83 overall, while Jacob Slavin, he's going to be the exact same. However, getting a deal done for these 2 guys, it's definitely not going to be easy, because this is one of the best packages we can offer, barring a couple first round picks, of course. And why waste any time? Let's just throw a first round pick in the deal right now and try to get it done. And it's going to be easy just like that. Sebastian Aho and Jacob Slavin, welcome to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I think the second move is going to be to improve our forward core once again. Here is a first round pick, and Ryan Reeves is going to be sent over to the Vegas Golden Knights, and we're going to be picking up William Karlsson. I feel like he could be a nice piece to the team. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get that 4th rounder, and it doesn't even look like this package here is enough for William Karlsson. So I guess we're going to have to throw some more assets in the deal. Thankfully, we do have some unsigned prospect, and that's probably going to be enough to get this done. Never mind, let's throw in a 6th rounder. And just like that, we've acquired William Karlsson. Now I'm doing everything in my power right now to try to pick up Chris Tanev. He's an 84 overall, but I'm also trying to pick up Thomas Vanek. He'd be a nice piece to the forward core. This is basically the best package we can offer up. They're going to be saying no to that, so unfortunately I don't think we're going to be able to pick up Thomas Vanek, but we are going to be getting Chris Tanev, so that's going to be a nice upgrade to the defense. So after those couple moves we made, we're going to see some nice upgrades to the forward core here. Sebastian Aho and William Karlsson are joining the team. On top of those 2 guys to the forward core, we're also going to be bringing in Chris Tanev and Jacob Slavin, and I think they can be some difference makers for us. Meanwhile, the goaltending I'm not going to be touching here because I already know Matt Murray can win a Stanley Cup. Well, he can win one in real life. Can he win one in today's simulation? Well, we're about to find that out. Now, it should really be no surprise that once again, the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to be finishing at the top of the league here, second with a 51-27-4 record. But we need to seriously talk about how the Pittsburgh Penguins never finished first in the entire league. We were 2 points back of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the only reason for that, they lost more overtime games than us. We had more wins than them. We had the most wins in the entire league at 51, but Toronto was ahead of us because they lost in overtime more. We really just can't catch a break here. Now, would you be surprised when I told you that Sidney Crosby led the entire team with 85 points? Probably not, because he's that guy, followed by Phil the Thrill, who's picking up 77, and Malkin picking up 68. Now, the real question was, how was our new goaltending tandem this season? It was pretty darn good, as Matt Murray, he's got 38 wins, 3 shouts, and 921 and 235. And on top of things that you've probably seen before, a first round matchup against the New York Rangers. Because some things just never change, I guess. So right now, things are looking pretty solid. We have a 3-2 series lead, so game 6 could be a deciding one. We better not lose this one. Thankfully, we're not going to be, and we're off to the second round. So we moved on to the second round here, and it's not going to be an easy second round matchup, that's for sure, as we got to take on the Columbus Blue Jackets. I believe this was the season before they swept the Tampa Bay Lightning, because the year they swept the Tampa Bay Lightning, that was the year St. Louis won the Stanley Cup. So right now, Columbus has been going back and forth with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and currently we split the series, so game 5 is going to be a massive one. Whoever takes this one's going to have the lead in the series, and of course it's going to be the Columbus Blue Jackets. Why wouldn't it be? But we're responding in game 6, so we're off to game 7. So here we go, the biggest game of the playoffs, the Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets, and right now Columbus is still holding on to the lead heading into the third period. They have a 2-1 lead, and unfortunately they're going to hold on to that lead. They're taking this one 3-2. Pittsburgh disappointed in the second round once again. Haven't seen that one before. Yeah, so rumor has it, after that NHL 17 game, I was actually hacked. So all those comments I made about us winning a Stanley Cup, that wasn't me. Now, I'm not necessarily blaming Phil Kessel here, but I will say this. He had 11 points in the first round. In the next 7 games, he picked up 4. Now, I'm not blaming Phil the Thrill Kessel here, but I am pointing that out. By the end of this video, we would have rebuilt the Pittsburgh Penguins on 11 different NHL games. I refuse to go 11 NHL games without a single Stanley Cup. We're currently on NHL 19 and we're yet to win one. And the worst part about this team now, extremely top heavy. You got Crosby, Malkin, Getzel, Phil Kessel. It's great. The bottom 6, however, you definitely notice a drop off compared to other games. Because right now we have 41-year-old Matt Cullen as our 4th line center. That can't happen. On top of that, the defense is also slowly taking a hit, as Chris Letang, he's an 88 overall, our best defenseman, no issue with that. Justin Schultz, an 83, I don't have an issue with that either. The other 2 pairings definitely needs some work. And to finish it all off, Matt Murray's dropped to an 86 overall. That's definitely not ideal, but I still believe we can win a Stanley Cup with him, so he's going to be our guy once again. So I think this is going to be the trade that's going to allow us to add a lot of forward depth here. Unfortunately, we're going to have to ditch Bukestad, 82 overall, but 4.1 million, that's just not worth it for an 82 overall. We're going to include 2 prospects in the deal, but we're going to be picking up Buchnevich, Jesper Fast, and Jimmy Vesey. I think in the long run, this deal is going to work out for us, but before I accept it, we might as well throw a draft pick in because we know we can. Maybe a 4th and 5th rounder. Can I get both of those in the deal? It looks like I can, and we're going to get a massive deal done here. Alright, I got a plan here. It's going to be Dumoulin, a 3rd rounder, and a 1st rounder over to the Chicago Blackhawks, and we're going to try to get Erik Gustafsson. Gustafsson would be massive for us for 2 specific reasons. Number 1, he's an 84 overall, so that's an upgrade. Number 2, we would also be freeing up a ton of cap space here because he only costs $1.2 million. How do we get this trade to happen though? I have no clue. I'm assuming it's going to cost a handful of picks, but I really don't care about 2 4th rounders. That was much easier than I was expecting. Now it's time to do the other deal. So normally I don't like going 3 years out in the future to trade away draft picks, but you know what? In this circumstance, I'm actually okay with it. There we go. We got the deal done. You're kidding me. You're actually kidding me. So I think I found the final deal we're going to be making here. It's going to be a 1st rounder in Peterson over to the New Jersey Devils, and we're going to be picking up Will Butcher here, an 84 overall, 23 years old. His contract works with the team. You do not know how long I've spent trying to bring in one more defenseman. It has taken way too long. I don't care we're getting finessed here. I tried to trade for Zdeno Chara and Jake DeBrusk for a good 20 minutes. Making contracts work is very difficult sometimes. So here we go with the new look Pittsburgh Penguins. The forward core isn't changing too much, but Buchnevich, Jesper Fast, and Jimmy Vesey, those are going to be 3 massive upgrades for us. Unfortunately, Matt Cullen is still here for some reason at 41 years old, but you know what? Let's win him a Stanley Cup, why not? Defensively, we're also going to be seeing 2 massive upgrades. That's going to be Erik Gustafsson, of course, an 84 overall, and Will Butcher, also an 84 overall. And then obviously, I don't need to mention this because it's the same as every other year, goaltending stays the same. Alright, here we are, number 1 in the entire league, 52, 20, and 10. No team can even touch us right now. We're averaging 3 goals per game and only allowing 2.33. We're the best offense and the best defense in the entire league. Well, technically not the best offense, we're the 3rd best offense, but that's neither here nor there. We're one of the best in the entire league, and now it's time for us to finally hoist a Stanley Cup. So Phil the Thrill Kessel is leading the way this season, 45 goals and 42 helpers for 87 points, one more than Sid the Kid. But is he really Sid the Kid if he's 31 years old? You know what? Who cares about that? The Pittsburgh Penguins are rolling, and so is the goaltending here. Matt Murray, 45 wins, 7 shouts, a 924 and a 223. I need these numbers to hold up during the postseason, and I need the offense to keep on rolling. Those two things happen, and we're cruising to a Stanley Cup. But as we know, the luck is definitely not on the Pittsburgh Penguins side. We have the Florida Panthers in the first round, and nothing is guaranteed. But I guess there's one thing guaranteed right now, and that's the second round, as we're taking the Florida Panthers down in a sweep. Okay, now I'm scared. We're playing the Columbus Blue Jackets, and this is the Blue Jackets team that swept the Tampa Bay Lightning, who won the President's Trophy that year. Whatever you do, don't fold right now. So we're really 8-0 right now. After sweeping the Florida Panthers, we're going to sweep the Columbus Blue Jackets, and we're off to the conference finals, 8-0 in the postseason right now. Are we going to go 16-0? I think I'm getting ahead of myself here, but right now things are fantastic. So here we go. We're 4 games away from the Stanley Cup final and 8 games away from hoisting the Stanley Cup. We haven't lost a game so far in the postseason, so why lose one right now? Let's just keep on rolling. That didn't happen. I actually don't believe that this happened. I'm assuming the game glitched or something. We must have swept the Tampa Bay Lightning, because there's no way that we just came off back-to-back sweeps only to lose in the conference finals in a sweep. Nah, that didn't just happen. The game's glitching right now. We're in the Stanley Cup final. How? How does this always happen? The Pittsburgh Penguins are the biggest frauds of all time, and to make things even worse, Tampa's beaten St. Louis in the Stanley Cup final. Nothing good happened in this game. There's nothing good happening right now, just straight misery. Malkin 13 points, Kessel had 9, Crosby had 9. We're moving on to the next game. So at this point, I don't care who's on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Jake Getzel, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, it don't matter. We got to win a Stanley Cup. Here's the defense. I don't see Nick Lidstrom here. I don't see Bobby Orr, so it's clearly not good enough. And then we have Matt Murray and Tristan Jarry. Doesn't look like we have a Patrick Waugh here, and it doesn't look like we have Marty Brodeur, so upgrades need to be made. So I've decided to change the deal up a little bit, which would bring in Anthony Duclair and Connor Brown, 282 overalls. Although we're not getting a massive jump in overall, we are going to be clearing up a lot of cap space here. We are going to have to give away one prospect, but I think this deal is going to work out for us. Before we try to attempt this deal, I might as well throw a couple draft picks in the deal. And good thing I did, we added a 4th and 5th rounder, and we're still getting it done. Now this could potentially be our last deal, because I'm not too sure how many assets we're going to have left after this. A 2nd rounder, a 3rd rounder, a prospect, Dumoulin, and another prospect over to the Minnesota Wild. We're going to bring in Jonas Brodin. He's a decent defenseman, 83 overall. We're also going to be bringing in 83 overall Kevin Fiala. He'll be a massive help to our team. We're making this deal. I think we're giving up quite a bit here. I actually think we're getting finessed, but as we know, it's not a finesse if you win a Stanley Cup, and that's actually pretty bad logic, because I've been using that logic the entire video so far, and we're yet to win a Stanley Cup. So yeah, I guess we're going to see what happens. Okay, we're either getting a deal done or we're getting finessed. Adam Fox and Tony DeAngelo, will you say yes to this? They're going to say no. Fine, we're just trading for Adam Fox. We're getting finessed, but we need a defensive upgrade, and Adam Fox definitely provides that. So these are the head coach preferred lines. I'm going to assume that the CPU coach here knows what he's cooking up. We got Crosby, Fiala, Getzel on the first line, then Connor Sheary, Malkin, Duclair on the second. The bottom 6, it actually looks pretty solid. Although we have a -1 overall boost on the 4th line, I think we're going to be okay. We definitely received some upgrades to the defense here, but the 3rd pairing's still not looking too strong. Thankfully, we got a +3 boost for line chemistry, so that might be able to make the difference. While the goaltending, we already know what that looks like. Matt Murray is going to be the guy once again, but Tristan Jarry continues to improve. He's up to an 83 overall, and he's going to be taking the reins sooner than we think. So unfortunately, it looks like time is finally catching up with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Even with the 3 trades I made, it's not going to be enough. We're finishing 7th in the entire league here, 46, 30, and 6. But who knows, maybe us finishing 7th in the entire league is the spark that we needed. Because it was certainly a spark for Sidney Crosby. He's having the best season yet, 106 points, 52 goals, 54 assists. Malkin's got 99 points, Getzel's got 92. This is what we've been waiting for. These 3 guys to finally break out in the simulation, and it's finally happened. Now the reason it happened, scoring frequency is now on high. So Matt Murray, although you had 34 wins this season, you had a 905 and a 288. Scoring frequency might impact the scoring on this team, but it also impacts impacts the scoring against us, so that's why Matt Murray's numbers look like this. However, there's one major change happening in the postseason. We're taking on the Rangers here. And you might be thinking, well, that's not a change. You always take on the Rangers. The Rangers are the favorite this time around. Every other matchup we've had against the New York Rangers, the Pittsburgh Penguins have been the favorite. Not this time around. The Rangers are now the favorite. But who cares who's the favorite? Because we're completing a quick sweep here. I'm also concerned because the last time we completed back-to-back sweeps, it didn't really end too well for us. So hopefully the next series goes to a minimum 5 games. And for the second time in this video, we're going to have a massive rivalry matchup in the second round. That's going to be the Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the Washington Capitals. Hopefully this time around we can get a different result. So not only did we reverse the script this time around and take down the Washington Capitals, but we did so in 5 games. We're not completing the sweep here, so that means we can't get swept in the conference finals. I don't care what happens here. That's actually a lie. I care a lot about what happens here. Y'all better make it to the Stanley Cup final. But in that slim chance you do lose, do not get swept. Whatever you do, don't get swept here. Well, we didn't get swept, but we are down 3-1 in the series. At that point, I think I'd rather just get swept. We're losing in 5 games. We took down 2 of the top teams in the NHL, only to fall to the Florida Panthers, who had almost an identical record to us. Nothing could have prepared me for this disappointment. And to make things even worse, the Florida Panthers are going to go on to win the Stanley Cup. That's just great. I also do want to point out where Jake Guentzel and Sidney Crosby finished in postseason scoring. Crosby was right here, Jake Guentzel was right here. You might notice the games played is a bit different though. 2 historic runs are ending early. You hate to see it. At this point, I don't even know what to do with the Pittsburgh Penguins anymore. I have built an elite team season in and season out, but when push comes to shove in the postseason, they completely fall apart. I'm expecting the same thing to happen this season. We're going to make a couple trades, we're going to improve the roster, finish top 5 in the entire league, and then this team will fall apart. However, there might be one difference this season. I think we might be trading for a goalie because I don't think 83 overall Casey DeSmith and 83 overall Tristan Jarry are going to cut it. So for the first time in this video, we're actually going to be trading for a goaltender, and that's going to be 88 overall Freddie Anderson. I feel like he could be the difference maker for this team, and we really aren't having to give up too much here. A second round pick, a young prospect in Joseph, and Michael Matheson. We're going to get rid of his contract. That's actually the main reason I'm making this deal. $4.8 million for an 80 overall. That's definitely not it. Although we're off in trade value here, I don't think we're off by too much, so I'll add a 4th rounder into the deal and we'll get this one done. Now the biggest problem I'm having right now is there's so many bad contracts on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Like Jason Zucker, 84 overall, that's not too bad, but not worth $5.5 million. Dublin, 81 overall, $4.1 million. Yeah, that's just not going to happen. So I'm going to try to trade both of these guys along with a second round pick and a prospect over to the Anaheim Ducks. We'll pick up Josh Manson, Troy Terry, and Comtois. I'm not sure if this really makes our team any better, but it does free up a lot of cap space here. I'm not really too sure how we're going to get a deal like this done though. Maybe a 5th rounder can be the difference maker? I guess it will be. There we go. We just freed up a lot of cap space here, and we still have enough to make one more move. And I think this is probably going to be our last trade here, where we're just going to be picking up a bunch of depth pieces from the LA Kings. We're going to get Athanasiou, Kempe, and Iafallo. I can't really find any defenseman that would fit here, so if we can improve the defense, we might as well improve the forward core. We're getting finessed in this deal, but you know what? Who really cares? It's not like getting finesse has backfired on us in this video. So we brought in some decent pieces here to help the forward core. Athanasiou, Kempe, Iafallo. I'm not really going to complain what we did here. Defensively, we added Josh Manson, which is definitely an upgrade for us, but the rest of the defensive core here, it doesn't look good to say the least. But we do have an 88 overall Freddie Anderson in between the pipes, so maybe that's been the missing piece for us. Maybe I just need to trade for a goaltender. It's not like we can be disappointed any more than we already have been today. Now, I don't care where the Pittsburgh Penguins finish in the standings. We're second here with a 50, 24, and 8 record. Do not care about this. All I care about is the result in the postseason, and all it has to be is a Stanley Cup. Anything less than that is a massive disappointment. Sidney Crosby, even at 33 years old, you continue to produce here. 101 points, 36 goals, 65 helpers. Malkin's got 89 points. Getzel's got 84. I need y'all to show up when it matters most. That's literally all I care about. Freddie Anderson, fantastic numbers from you. 43 wins, 5 shouts, a 908 and a 290. Perform when it matters most. That's all I need. That's literally all I care about. I could not care if we went 82-0 during the regular season. If we lose 4 games in 1 series during the playoffs, then it's all over and the 82-0 season means nothing. And whatever you do, after finishing second in the entire league, do not lose in the first round to the Montreal Canadiens. That would be my breaking point. No, like real talk, this is actually a joke. We're down 3-1 in the series. Are we going to come back into this series? Who knows? We won game 5. Can we win game 6? Of course we can. All of this just to lose in game 7, huh? So right now, Malkin's been fantastic. He's got 10 points in 6 games. That doesn't really matter here because guess what? We're going to somehow get shut out. Never mind. We did the complete opposite. We scored 8 goals. We scored 8 unanswered, it looks like. Okay, 7 unanswered. Maybe we're not a bunch of frauds. I'm not going to get excited about coming back in that series. At one point, we were down 3-1. We shouldn't have made the comeback. We're moving on to the second round. We have that old-fashioned rivalry matchup. Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins taking on Alexander Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals. We've won one series against them. They've beat us one time. Let's take that 2-1 series lead against the Caps. So we took the first 2 games of the series. Things looked absolutely fantastic, but in Pittsburgh Penguins fashion, we're going to lose 2 straight, make that 3 straight. Are we going to lose 4 straight? I guess not. We're off to another game 7. So here we go. I just need 60 good minutes from the Pittsburgh Penguins, which will allow us to advance to the conference finals. We're going to lose in overtime. That's great. Malkin, congrats. 18 points in 14 games. You were great. I actually don't even care who wins the Stanley Cup. I really don't. This Pittsburgh Penguins team is just full of frauds. Frauds. How do y'all keep losing? Washington wins the Stanley Cup. That's great. Let's move on to our next game here. So we've moved on to NHL 22 here. And of course, Sidney Crosby continues to be the best player on the Pittsburgh Penguins at 93 overall. Win. That's all I'm going to say. Y'all just need to win. When the games matter most, win. Our goaltender, it's Tristan Jarry here. He's an 86 overall. I need you to play the greatest hockey of all time. Patrick Waugh, Marty Brodeur, none of them are going to have anything on the season that Tristan Jarry is about to have. This man's going to post a save percentage of a 970 and a goals against of a 0.3. And then somehow when we get to the playoffs, his save percentage will drop to an 820 and then his goals against will go up to a 560. Welcome to Pittsburgh Penguin hockey. So I'm not even too sure if we're going to be able to complete 3 moves in this game. Pittsburgh has no draft capital and they have no good prospects, but we are going to attempt this trade right here, which would bring in Jake Bean, Jack Roslovic, and Alex Texier. Roslovic and Texier, they'll add some forward depth here, while Jake Bean, he'll be one of our better defensemen. Can we get a deal like this done? They're going to say no. They want a different young prospect. Unfortunately, we don't have a different young prospect. I mean, that's actually a lie. We have Joseph, so I'll throw him in the deal. And then maybe this guy right here. This might be enough to get this deal done. We'll try this first, though. There we go. We added 3 more players to the Pittsburgh Penguins. We got rid of 1 bad contract. We actually still might be able to make a few moves. Our next trade is going to have us sending a 1st round pick and a 4th along with Brian Dumoulin over to the Vancouver Canucks. We're going to bring in Travis Dermott because he has a pretty good line fit on our 3rd pairing. And we're also bringing in Connor Garland to help with the forward depth. Okay, so with this next trade, y'all got to hear me out here because I'm overpaying just to get it to happen. We're picking up Brett Burns. He's an 86 overall. He'll be one of our best defensemen here, and he fits on the 2nd pairing. That's exactly what we need him for. We're also going to pick up Barabanov as he'll be a replacement for Kapanen. Basically, I'm trading these guys away just so we can free up cap space to make this deal work. Obviously, this deal is going to work out fantastic for the San Jose Sharks. They get rid of Brett Burns and they get a 1st round pick, but we get the pieces we need, and that's all that really matters. So after everything's said and done, here's what the team's looking like. We brought in Connor Garland, Alex Texier, Roslovic. That's going to be a massive help to our forward core here. Defensively, we're also going to be seeing some massive upgrades here with Brett Burns, Jake Bean, and Travis Dermott. These 3 pieces are definitely better than what we had before. I guess you could say the biggest question mark is going to be what's Tristan Jarry going to look like in the postseason, because we're going to make the postseason. There's no question about that. How he performs in the postseason, well, we'll figure that out when the time comes. So it's clear to see as this Pittsburgh Penguins core ages, 3 trades isn't enough to save them. We're finishing 8th in the entire league here, 47, 25, and 10. But you know what? I don't care what the regular season record is. I don't care what numbers this team puts up. I don't care who the leading scorer is. It happens to be Evgeny Malkin this season. Crosby has 81. Yeah, big deal. Who cares? In the 1st round, we have the Philadelphia Flyers. At some point, we're either going to play the New York Rangers or Boston Bruins. Then we're going to get past them. And then we either have to play the Montreal Canadiens, Tampa Bay Lightning, Florida Panthers, or Toronto Maple Leafs. We're going to beat one of them. And then we're going to beat the St. Louis Blues in the Stanley Cup final. Just kidding. St. Louis isn't going to make it to the Stanley Cup final. It's going to be the Colorado Avalanche because this is when that team was absolutely stacked. It's going to be a back and forth series the entire way, but after 5 games, Colorado's going to come out on top. Yeah, there's no way we beat Colorado. Okay, we're not losing to the Philadelphia Flyers. It's tied 2-2 right now. We can't lose to the Philadelphia Flyers. We're off to game 7. I'm sorry, but the Philadelphia Flyers of all teams are going to be taking us out in the first round. That can't happen. We cannot lose to the Philadelphia Flyers here. I'm going to simulate through the rest of the game and see what happens. Thankfully, we're going to get past them. This series should not have been this close. It really shouldn't have been. We're moving on to the second round here, the Boston Bruins. That's who we're matching up against. I'm not even looking at the playoff bracket. We're just going to go ahead and quickly simulate through this one. We're going to take them down to a quick 4-game sweep. Nothing to worry about here. Just kidding. It's tied 2-2. Whatever you do, do not lose the next 2 games here. We're off to game 7 once again. Some things just never change, I guess. Game 7 against the Philadelphia Flyers. Game 7 against the Boston Bruins. Let's end this one the exact same way. We'll just take them out in game 7 here and then make it to the conference finals. Just kidding. Hampus Lindholm's going to score the OT winner and we're eliminated. So we moved on to NHL 23, and this is the Pittsburgh Penguins roster that was unable to make the postseason. And that's not a great sign, seeing as we haven't even won a Stanley Cup yet. And now we have to turn a team that didn't even make the postseason into Stanley Cup champions. I think we might be cooked here. I'm just going to keep it a stack. However, there's one thing that can make this season a lot easier for us. This is after the trade deadline where players have had their salaries retained. So Ryan O'Reilly, we can acquire an 87 overall for $1.8 million. Now, where are we going to get the assets for Ryan O'Reilly? Well, I haven't thought that far ahead yet. I'm guessing a trade for Ryan O'Reilly is going to have to look something like this. A first round pick in Juan Ruda over to the Toronto Maple Leafs straight up for Ryan O'Reilly. I'm not expecting this to be enough, but I feel like we're sort of close. Now, if I throw a Vegas Golden Knights 3rd round pick and a 5th rounder over to the Toronto Maple Leafs, is this going to be enough to acquire Ryan O'Reilly? They're still saying no here, but I feel like we are close just based on the trade values. So this package right here is basically the best we can do for Ryan O'Reilly. It's going to be a 1st rounder, Ruda, a 3rd rounder, Pickering, and a 4th rounder over to the Toronto Maple Leafs just for one man, Ryan O'Reilly. Is this going to be enough? There we go. We got our new second line centerman. Now our next deal is going to be completed with a rival here in the Washington Capitals, as we're going to try to pick up Ferravari to help the defense, but we're also going to try to pick up Tom Wilson here, an 86 overall. It would be a massive help for the team. We're going to have to give up Granlund in this deal, but I mean, we're going from an 83 overall to an 86 in Wilson, so I think this deal is going to work out for us. They're willing to accept this deal straight up. Let's see if there's anything else we can add first. So I've changed the package up a little bit here, as I'm going to try to acquire Dylan Strome as well, and we're going to be sending them Jason Zucker. I doubt this deal is going to go through, but we do have a few more draft picks. So if I add a Pittsburgh Penguins 2nd rounder in the deal, can we get this one done? And it looks like this deal is going to be accepted, so we're getting some massive upgrades to the forward core here. So our final move is just going to be bringing in some depth pieces here. We're going to be bringing in Andrew Peeke and Alex Texier. I'm not sure if this deal is going to be enough to get both of these guys. Yeah, this is going to be a tough deal to get done because we really don't have too many assets left. So maybe a deal like this would be enough. I highly doubt it though. They're going to say no, but we just need to sweeten the touch here. And of course, we do have some 7th round picks. That's really all we have left. 7th and 6th round picks. So hopefully this 6th is enough to get it done. It's going to be, and now we've built our team. So here's the new look Pittsburgh Penguins with the addition of Tom Wilson, Ryan O'Reilly, Alex Texier, Dylan Strome. The forward core here is definitely better than when we started. Defensively, we're also going to be seeing 2 nice upgrades to the 3rd pairing as we brought in Martin Ferravari and Andrew Peeke. They should help a lot. Is this going to be a top defense in the entire league though? Not a chance, but it's definitely better than what it was, so I guess we'll take that. But to finish it all off, we do have an 87 overall Tristan Jarry in between the pipes for us. Depending on what version we get of him, this could be a Stanley Cup team. This team also could be 32nd in the entire league, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. So with the season wrapping up here, the Pittsburgh Penguins weren't looking too bad whatsoever. 9th in the entire league with a 46, 31, and 5 record. We had a pretty solid offense with the defense. That was pretty good as well. Like usual, we're going to see Sidney Crosby leading the way. He's got 95 points this season, 39 goals, 56 helpers. Malkin's going to be picking up 87 points here, while Getzel's picking up 82. And Tom Wilson, that turned out to be a pretty solid pickup for us. He's got 69 points. Not too much more I can ask from him. Meanwhile, when it came to the goaltending situation here, Tristan Jarry had a pretty great year. 40 wins, 3 shouts, a 907 and a 287. But we have to remember, the regular season means absolutely nothing, especially when it comes to the playoffs, because this team chokes all the time. Are we going to lose to the New York Rangers here, or are we going to make it to the 2nd round, then lose to the Carolina Hurricanes or Ottawa Senators? Because I can tell you right now, there's no way this team wins the Stanley Cup. So after the first 2 games of this series, I was fully expecting us to get swept, but here we are entering Game 6 with a 3-2 series lead. Not really too sure how that happened, and now we're off to the 2nd round. I'm still not going to get my hopes up though. The 2nd round's certainly not going to be any easier for us, because now we have to take on the Carolina Hurricanes, and as we know, Carolina, they're a fantastic team. So we were down 3-1 in the series after taking Game 1, but we took a massive Game 5 win here. Can we win Game 6 and force a Game 7? Of course we can't. I'm falling in the 2nd round once again. Who would have saw that one coming? The second I get my hopes up, thinking this team can come back in the series, Just complete disappointment. I should know that by now. So it all comes down to this. NHL 24, our final game. We are yet to win a Stanley Cup in the past 10 games. This makes no sense, but you know what? We're going to keep on rolling here. We're going to have some positivity heading into this next game. We're going to have Erik Karlsson on the team. We got Sidney Crosby, Malkin, Getzel. What could possibly go wrong? So here we go with NHL 24, our final chance at winning a Stanley Cup. So here we go, NHL 24, our final chance at winning a Stanley Cup. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be winning a Stanley Cup with this core right here. Even after making 3 trades, it's just not going to be enough. Like, look at the defense here. It's not great outside of Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson. And then the goaltending, Tristan Jarry and Alex Nedeljkovic, it's not bad, but it definitely could be better. Also, I just completely ignored Ryan Graves. He's here as well, so shout out to Ryan Graves. Now this is kind of a high risk, high reward deal. We're going to be bringing in Oscar Sundqvist, 81 overall. He can play on the 3rd line, and we're also going to bring in Colton Parayko to help the second pairing defense. We're not giving up too much here. We're just giving up Marcus Peterson, 83 overall. We're also giving up Jeff Carter here, an 81 overall. We're going to be clearing up some money in this deal, so I think we got to make it. Similar to our last trade, this is going to be high risk, high reward. Noel Acciari, Ricardo Rakell, and a 2nd round pick is going to be sent over to the San Jose Sharks. We're going to pick up Barabanov and Zutterland. They're going to be 2 good pieces for the bottom 6 here, and Ricardo Rakell, an 83 overall. I don't need to be paying you almost $5 million, especially when Barabanov's also an 83, and we're going to be paying him $2.5 million. So for our final trade, we might as well make it a massive one. A 1st rounder, Brian Rust, 2 AHL players, along with Realm Pitlick over to the Buffalo Sabres. We're going to be picking up Eric Johnson, Casey Milstad, JJ Peterka, and Jack Quinn. Or that's what the plan was. Instead, I'll give them some better AHL players in Rathbone and Ty Smith, and then hopefully this is enough to get the deal done. There we go. The Pittsburgh Penguins are here, and they're looking to get themselves another Stanley Cup. I don't know why I said another Stanley Cup, acting like we've won one before. It's been some tough years. So here we go with the roster for our final year here. It's going to be Sidney Crosby, Malkin, and Getzel on the 1st line. Barabanov, Casey Milstad, Riley Smith on the 2nd. Our bottom 6 actually looks much improved here. The lowest overall being an 80. Matt Nito, I don't know why he's on the 3rd line. Never mind. Yes, I do. He has a good line fit here. I think we got ourselves a playoff team. That's for sure. Defensively, Colton Parayko and Eric Johnson are going to be 2 massive additions as they're going to be allowing the defense to get some line chemistry upgrades. We're getting a +2 boost on the 3rd pairing, a +2 on the 2nd, and on that top pairing with Erik Karlsson and Chris Letang, they're getting a +1. And sitting behind that defense, it's going to be our goaltending tandem with Tristan Jarry and Alex Nedeljkovic. That's not going to be touched whatsoever. Is this a top 10 team in the entire league? Probably not. Is it a playoff team? Potentially. But we gotta win one Stanley Cup here, because ain't no way I started this video in NHL 14 and here we are in NHL 24 without one Stanley Cup. Things have just gotten out of hand. So I'm gonna be honest, the Pittsburgh Penguins were looking much better than I expected this year. 4th in the entire league, 50, 27, 5. We have a great offense here. We have a fantastic defense. I need y'all to win when the games matter most. In the postseason, that's where it matters. Win. To finish off this 11 game stretch, Sidney Crosby once again is going to be leading the way. Who would have saw that one coming? 98 points here, 40 goals, 58 assists, and in between the pipes, of course, we're going to have Tristan Jarry. He's got 38 wins, 3 shouts, a 909 to 292. All I ask is 16 wins in the postseason. In our final game, NHL 24, give me 16 wins. And for the 9,000th time in this video, the New York Rangers in the 1st round. Not gonna lie, the odds of us playing the New York Rangers this frequently is actually pretty surprising, because that means in most of the simulations they finished as a wild card team, because we were always like top 3, top 4. More than likely we were winning our division. That means that the Rangers were always a wild card team. So far the series has been going back and forth the entire way. We've been exchanging games. Game 5 is going to be a massive one. Who's going to be taking the lead in the series? It looks like it's going to be the Pittsburgh Penguins. And are we going to be able to close it out in game 6 here? Of course not. We're off to game 7. So here we go. Game 7 of the 1st round. Is this video going to be continuing any longer? Why simulate period by period when you can just simulate the entire game here? And in the 3rd period, the offense is exploding. We're picking up 3 goals and we're off to the 2nd round. So technically we didn't actually win our division. We finished 2nd, so the Rangers finished 3rd, and that's why we played them, because we have to take on the division winner in the Carolina Hurricanes in the 2nd round. So we've been struggling with the 2nd round quite a bit in this video. Is this going to be the time we finally turn it around and get outside the 2nd round? It doesn't look like it, because things aren't looking good right now. We're currently down 3-1 in the series. Are we going to make the comeback here? Of course we're not. Losing 6-1 in game 5 here, and it's all over. Honestly, I don't even know what to say about this Pittsburgh Penguins team. We played 11 NHL games today. I rebuilt them 11 different times, and we couldn't even win a Stanley Cup. I don't even recall if we made it to the Stanley Cup final. This team was just a complete disappointment the entire rebuild. There's only one man that really didn't disappoint me up until this game, and that's Sidney Crosby. So if you somehow made it to the end of this video, because I'm assuming it was a long one, comment Sid the Kid. Even though he's 36 years old, he's still Sid the Kid.